Hello and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about nutrition myths debunked. I'm Dr. Brigitte Rossi and I'm excited to talk to you about this. I spend a lot of my time researching and making very conscious decisions and choices for everything that goes into my body or around me in my environment. So I want to share with you 10 myths that I have learned along the way that maybe thought differently when I was younger or before I found out and did my research. So the first myth I want to talk about is that all calories are created equally. A lot of times we're talking about people do different diets or nutrition plans and you can only eat so many calories, right? 300 calories of cake does not equal the same thing as 300 calories of chicken. Yes, of course, there's portion size in there, but what's more important than calories is nutrients. What nutrients are you getting from your food and putting inside your body? That is so very important. So when you're making a choice for what you're going to be eating, and you say, how many calories is it? Look at what kind of calories those are and make a decision. Am I choosing foods that are going to support me in living, or are they just calories to fill in and actually are not supporting your life? All right. Myth number 2, carbs make you fat. Again, carbohydrates are something that there is a lot of discussion about out there. And carbs are not your enemy. And there are different types of carbohydrates. And that's, again, where we want to make a distinction. There are sugars, there are starches, and there are fiber. Now, sugars are going to be short chain carbohydrates. Those are going to be your glucose, your fructose, your sucrose, galactose. Those things are going to be the sugars. All right. Then we have starches, which are going to be long chain glucose carbohydrates, which is where your digestive tract is going to break those down into shorter chains so that you can process them. Then we have the fiber, and fiber is very necessary for your gut to move the food along. Okay, so it's not a problem if you eat carbohydrates. It's if you eat excess carbohydrates, and are you having a balance? Now, carbohydrates should not be a majority of your plate. If you're looking at your dinner plate and you look at, do you have, 30% carbohydrates, or do you have 50% or 80%? How much of it is actually carbohydrate? Okay, because again, they're not all created equally. An unprocessed food, a whole food, a vegetable, that's a carbohydrate, right? So is it an unprocessed food, or maybe an unprocessed grain, a whole grain versus a processed refined grain in a flour? And it has added sugars a lot of times. And those are the things, it's the refined carbohydrates that are associated with diseases such as diabetes or other things. So you do have good carbs and bad carbs. So look at your plate and see, do I have unprocessed whole food carbohydrates? Is it green, leafy greens, right? Is it rice? Is it pasta? So which one of those are you covering your plate with? And if it's a small amount of refined, or preferably unrefined, even if it's a grain, a small amount, it should be a small portion of your plate. Okay? And the majority of your plate can be a vegetable, which is a carbohydrate as well, but again, a healthier choice. We're not looking for the sugars or the starches as much, but the whole foods. Okay? Myth number 3, healthy food is expensive. I get this a lot. I can't afford to be healthy. Well, let me tell you that I have had all financial ranges for my grocery budget. And I can tell you that no matter what my budget was, I always made healthy choices. What are you substituting in your grocery cart that could maybe otherwise be a healthier choice? So for one, frozen foods are actually more expensive than if you just buy it fresh. Junk food, take that out. Instead of spending money on junk food, spend money on the good foods. So your choices make it possible. Also, cheap food, processed foods, you have no energy. You burn the sugars, you burn extremely fast. And so you actually will have to eat more of it because there's no nutrient value and your blood sugar is constantly going up and you need to ride that roller coaster. If you get a good, healthy food, your energy burn is going to last longer and you will eat less, not necessarily, again, calorie-wise. We're not talking about calories, but you might eat just as many calories, if not more, but you're going to eat less of it because the energy is going to be sustained longer. So that's very, very important. Also, when we talk about expense of food, we want to look at the benefit to cost ratio. What is it costing you in your health bills when we're eating unhealthy foods? So when you are always maybe buying the cheap, Pop-Tarts and cereals and I don't even know what people eat, but it's costing you your life and your health. And if you're not eating your vegetables and your produce and your healthier meats, spending a little extra money on healthy meats, then what's going to happen is your body can't process the foods, you get back up, and then you're spending money on medications, and you're spending money on doctor visits and other alternative visits as well. Versus if you just spend the money on creating a good health plan with your food, you're going to save a lot of money, especially down the road. So making those good choices is very, very important. Now, the most expensive areas that people worry about are actually more in the meats and the dairies. And so there are ways that you can make good choices, and you can always substitute for a plant-based alternative that might be less expensive. All right, so you can always get some of the meats, and you can choose them wisely, but you can get protein that will be plant-based instead. And if you need advice, that's what I'm here for. If you need guidance along this path, I'm happy to help support you along this way. Please ask your questions. Another way to save money is good to buy locally in season. In-season food is going to be actually less expensive and higher in nutrient value. Therefore, the energy burn is also going to last longer. It's going to fuel your body a lot more. Okay? And then meal planning is great to reduce waste and save a lot of money. Because a lot of times you might buy something and you only use a little bit of it and then you waste the rest. Well, we don't want that to happen. That's not the most efficient way to use our food. And so to save money, meal planning is going to do you some good. Check your groceries, check what you have in your fridge and see what you can work with and get creative. If you need recipes, I've got lots of them. I have so many different recipes, and the internet is our friend for this. You can find a recipe for almost any vegetable out there that you have never used before. So, myth number 4, gluten-free is the way to go. Now, I'm here to tell you that gluten-free is not always the way to go. Now, if you have a serious condition like celiac or something like that, yes, you want to avoid the gluten, right? But if you are having a sensitive gut, you may want to try an elimination diet and see if maybe it's something else that's irritating your gut. But although gluten can irritate the gut for some people, it's also the way that grains are prepared. And that's another webinar that I will do another time. But the way you prepare your grains is very important. But also, if you're buying a pre-bought product that's gluten-free versus something that has gluten, which would be like a wheat product or something, you want to look at the extra ingredients in there. Gluten-free does not mean healthier when you're buying a prepackaged product. It could have other fillers and other additives and other things in there, or maybe high in sugar that you want to avoid. So when I'm choosing between two things, do I have an organic whole grain, but maybe it has some wheat in it, and is it gluten-free with a bunch of fillers? You know, those are some choices that you want to make conscious decisions on. You want to look at the labels. So please educate yourself, because gluten-free is not always the healthiest choice, okay? It can be, but not in every situation. Myth number 5, low-fat foods are better for you. This was something that they started way back in my parents' and grandparents' generation. It was low-fat foods. And I'm here to tell you that that myth has completely been debunked. There is so much research out there that shows that low-fat foods are not as healthy for you. Now, low-fat often means that there's more salt in the product, and also usually cheaper carbs, a cheaper version of the carbs. One thing that's been shown, if it's a dairy product and they're saying low fat, well, the enzymes that you need to assimilate the dairy is found in the fat. So that lactase enzyme that you need to digest and assimilate the lactose and the other things in the milk are going to be in the fat. So if you take that out, now all of a sudden you need digestive enzymes and you need other supportive, or you might have other issues that come up that you can't handle, okay? And they can be very subtle, that only show up after decades and decades of using the product. You may not notice it on a day-to-day basis, okay? So please be aware, low fat can, like we said, it can have other ingredients in it in place of it. Cheap carbs, high in sugar, we don't want to do those things, okay? Myth number 6, yogurt is good for gut bacteria. Now, yes, this can be true actually, but only if it has live cultures. Now, one of the things that destroys gut bacteria is sugar. If you're buying yogurt that is high in sugar, you're not doing your gut any good, okay? So look for a yogurt, plain is better, that has live bacteria in it, specifically Lactobacillus acidophilus. That is how they make yogurt, is with that bacteria. And so you want to look for the live cultures though. Okay, and that means that they've added some cultures that have not been pasteurized, because when you pasteurize the milk, now you're killing all the culture in the milk. So when they add the bacteria to make yogurt, you want to make sure that it's still live and no sugar. You can also try kefir as an alternative. Kefir has more strains of bacteria than yogurt does. All right, so look out for that video as well that I'll be posting, but kefir has 13 strains of bacteria, whereas yogurt, I believe it's 7. Okay, so there's a lot more strains in kefir. So that's another alternative that you can always try. And you can look if you can find a local farm, or maybe your grocery store, depending on where you live, where you can find it in raw, unpasteurized form, and you'll get a lot more out of it. All right. Myth number 7, egg yolks will increase your cholesterol. That is a myth I'm going to debunk right now. Now, eggs have so much research behind it. They are healthy for you. So keep eating them. Yes, they have cholesterol, but dietary cholesterol is not the same thing as blood cholesterol. All right? And they don't have necessarily anything to do with each other. So getting cholesterol through your food does not mean your blood cholesterol is going to be high. That usually has to do with actually a lot of sugars and lifestyle. So that, yes, there's going to be some foods that you will help support your body. And we can talk about that if that's something that you're concerned with. We can talk about those things. But egg yolks are so healthy. They're high in omegas, which is necessary for your brain function and your nervous system function. It's also healthy for your skin and so many other things. So you want to get your omega fatty acids, and a great way to get them is through egg yolk. It's one of the foods that if I were to go back in time to when I was a raw foodist or a vegan or a vegetarian, I would not give up my egg yolks. I might give up the protein part, which is the whites, but I won't give up my egg yolks because they are so rich in nutrients that are essential for the body. All right, they are a powerhouse. They also have disease-fighting nutrients like lutein and zeaxanthin. Okay, those are very important nutrients that you want to have in your diet as well. Myth number 8, organic produce is more nutritious. Now, this can be the case, but not always. What we want to look at is if you're going to spend your money on organic produce, look at the dirty dozen list or the clean 15 list that people have. Spend your money on organic foods there because we want to avoid the pesticides and the herbicides and all of the toxic chemicals that they have to spray on our food to make sure no bugs get in it when they bring it to the grocery store. We want to avoid those things that are going to be toxins to our body that are going to create ill health, okay? But when we're talking about nutrient value, that doesn't necessarily mean the case. We want to look at where is it grown, the soil of the farmers, and is it in season? In-season foods will have higher nutrient value than anything else. Also, how far did it travel? As soon as you pick that, as you harvest the food, it is declining, right? If it's not growing, it's dying. And so if it's no longer growing and it's being held to go to the grocery store, it is starting its decay process. It may be slow, but it is still starting. So every day it's out of the farm, it's losing nutrient value. So the sooner you get it, the better. So shopping in season and as close to local as possible, you're going to get the highest nutrient value, even if it's not organic. Now we want organic again, just based off the pesticides and herbicides and stuff. And if you have financial budget that you have to fit it in, use the clean 15 or the dirty dozen list to pick your which ones you're going to spend the extra money on when it comes to organic, all right, versus conventional. Myth number 9, it's best to eat a lot of small meals throughout the day. Now, this can help boost your metabolism at times, and that's what it's told. But there's actually not evidence that this works for everybody. So everyone's different, and some people that works really well for, and some people it doesn't. So you want to get coaching on that. If you are wondering where your metabolism is at and you want to try different things, you want to look at that and how your body works. Now, eating a lot of meals can be helpful if you're trying to curb a certain appetite and cravings, because your body never gets that excess hunger where then you grab that junk food. And so we want to avoid those things. So sometimes it's just easier to have more meals, vegetables as snacks, always. One of the things you can do to improve your health more than anything is add some greens to every meal, okay? I don't know too many people that have greens with every single meal, and that's one of the most important things you can do. So if you're going to eat a lot throughout the day, make sure you're making good choices, all right? Myth number 10, people who work out need a lot of extra protein. Again, every body is a little bit different, so your body might need slightly different levels of protein, but unless you're an Olympic athlete or a professional athlete, you don't need to have tons more protein than somebody else, because the daily recommended value for protein is going to be based off your active lifestyle. We should all be moving every single day. And so the protein levels are going to be fit for that. You don't need to eat a whole bunch just because you exercise, unless, again, you're doing professional levels of athleticism, then of course we might be talking a little bit differently. All right. So a person typically already consumes about 77.5 grams a day. And that is 146% of the intake that's recommended for the average person. The National Institute for Health actually recommends a daily allowance of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if I weighed 35 kilograms, I would do times 0.8, and that would be how much I would eat. If I'm 60 kilograms, right? Well, so an adult, if we're talking about an adult, we're talking about maybe 60 to 80 kilograms, maybe more, and you would do that number times 0.8 grams. And that's how much you're going to find out which would be appropriate for you. All right? So eating healthy does not have to be complicated. It actually can be quite simple. You just want to look at your inventory of foods before you go grocery shopping and make a little bit of a plan. All right? If that will help your budget, and it's going to help you not waste more food. So try when you're shopping to stick to the perimeter as much as you can. That means you're getting the fresher foods, the things that need refrigeration, the things that are going to spoil. Those are the things that you want, okay? Because anything that's prepackaged that has no shelf life or has a very long shelf life, those things have less nutrient value in them, okay? So unless you're getting the odd thing in the middle that's canned food, you want to stick to the perimeters. All right. Try new recipes. There are so many recipes out there that maybe, you're not sure what to do with yellow squash. Well, just look it up. There's a lot of things. And it's great. You can always hide vegetables in other things and you're not going to notice it. I do it to my family all the time. It's a great way to sneak in some vegetables that they may not enjoy just eating on their own. All right. So great way to prepare different foods. Again, local and in season is going to be the best way to go. And if you need to replace your protein with a plant alternative to save some money, that's another way to go. So some of those myths, just to repeat, right? Calories are not all created equally. Carbs will make you fat. Healthy food is expensive. Well, we just rewrapped on that one. Gluten-free is the way to go, right? I hope you are listening. Look at the ingredients instead. Don't just go with a label. Low-fat foods, better for you. Again, look at the label. It doesn't mean anything just because it says that. Yogurt is good for gut bacteria. We debunked that one. Look again at the ingredients. You've got to become an ingredient detective and really decipher what it means. We can't just buy whatever it is based off of marketing. Marketing is brilliant methods, but you've got to do your own research and you've got to make conscious choices. Egg yolks it will increase your cholesterol levels. That is completely debunked. I will be posting some of the science that I references, some of them below in the comments. But there is so much information out there. So be sure you do your own research too. Don't just take my word. I want you to go out and look at the information, okay? Organic produce is more nutritious. I also debunked that. That can be the case, but not always. Myth number 9 was it's best to eat many small meals throughout the day. And myth number 10 is people who work out need extra protein nutrients. So I hope that this was helpful for you to kind of think again, maybe some of the things that you had. And if you have a belief around food or your nutrition, let me know. And maybe we can help debunk or confirm that belief with some science and some research so that you know that you're making the best possible decision for your health. Okay? I want you to make conscious decisions, become an ingredient detective, and share that information with others. That way, it can spread and we can spread health and wellness so that we can all experience healthier lives, better lives, and step into the best you that you can be. Have a great day.